In this lesson, I want to give you a brief overview of the tools and resources that I'm going to be using and utilizing throughout this course. So the first thing that we're going to need is an editor. You can use any editor that you want. If you're looking to use the same editor that I'm using Brackets. So this is an Adobe product. It's a free open source editor that you can download, so there's no cost to that. And this is, again, it's an Adobe product. It's a pretty good editor. It's got a lot of great functionality, and I am going to be utilizing it within the course. Another resource that I'm using is I've got a XAMPP server running. So this is available at apachefriends.org. This is available in Windows, Linux, and OS X. So I've got that running here in the background, and what this does is this gives me the ability to go to localhost. So essentially I get an option within my computer to be able to open up XAMPP and run the XAMPP control panel, which allows me to start an Apache server, and I can also do some configuration here as well. I can also run a SQL database. So if I needed these assets, if I need to have server running on my computer, XAMPP is a really good option, and it's really quick to install. You just download it, you can just go through the defaults. So some of the other resources that I'm using, the browser that I'm going to be using is Chrome, and the reason I like using Chrome is because it's got these dev tools here. So dev tools comes with every version of Chrome, and with dev tools you get some communication information here. You can see elements, the breakdown of DOM and DOM information, CSS, and a whole lot more. So there's a lot of information contained within DevTools, and essentially it gives me a way to communicate between my application and my browser and see information visually. So some of the other resources that I'm going to also be using is myjson.com. So this is a website that allows us to store JSON files online. So when we create a JSON file in here, then we get a URL and we can save it and access it. So get access to a live JSON file. There's also JSON lint. So this also gives me the ability to lint and make sure that I've got valid JSON formatting, and it's going to come in useful as we progress through the lessons. And then over here I've got a JSON generator. So if you're curious to what JSON looks like, so this is a good example of JSON data, and as you can see, the data itself, the reason that we like using JSON is because it's actually human readable. So as opposed to an XML, which is the main alternative to JSON, and storing and exchanging and transferring data, this is one of the main reasons why we use JSON. And as you can see here in this example, we can clearly see all of this JSON information. We can see the ID, we can see company, email, phone, address, and we can really easily pick out the values. And when we look at JSON, it's a combination of keys and values, so they're stored paired values. So every single value here has a key, so a way to identify it, and then a value associated with it. So that's just over here on the right hand side. And it's all comma separated, and it can get grouped into larger pieces with the curly brackets, and we can have multiple JSON multiple objects within every single parent here. So we see here we've got a parent here, we've got a container with the object comma separated, we've got another one here and another one and another one and so on. So a lot of information is contained within here, and the really neat thing about working with JSON is that we actually get access to all this data. We can pull it out into our HTML code, and it is really the optimal way for transferring data between applications. So in the next lesson, we're going to start creating some JSON files.